Hey guys, what is going on, and welcome back to What Shall We Do Next. I'm Mike, your host, and I hope you guys are having the best day ever. Before I get started, guys, if you are new here, please subscribe. If you haven't already done that, we're on the road to 87,000 subscribers, and I would love you to join me on this journey. So hit subscribe and join the fam. And also, guys, go follow me on all my social media. Links are in the description. I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even Snapchat, so go follow me on all of those. And as you guys know, I recently started a Facebook account, so you can add me on Facebook, and we can be Facebook friends, so go do that. Link is in the description. And finally, be sure to turn on the notification bell right next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified every time I upload a video. Thank you! But once again, I am coming back at you guys with another creepy video. Creepy to an extent, sad. Yeah, it's pretty sad. But today we are talking about one of my favorite topics of all time, the Titanic. So today we are talking about 12 stories, kind of ghost stories, about the Titanic, but like I said, they're not necessarily scary stories, they're more sad. It's pretty sad. But enough of the jibber jabber, let's get right over to the stories. The RMS Titanic set out on its maiden voyage with an estimated 2,200 people on board in April of 1912. Tragically, only 706 of those passengers would survive. The ship was moving too fast one freezing night and struck an iceberg and sank. Those who perished in the accident suffered a terrifying and agonizing death, and any paranormal enthusiast will tell you that strong emotions paired with untimely death are the key ingredients in most hauntings. For 8 decades, the RMS Titanic and all its contents sat at the bottom of the Atlantic until underwater excavation teams brought artifacts back up to the surface. Now, these pieces of history are offering a rare glimpse at what it was like to be on the massive ship, and hinting at the ghostly spirits that linger around the doomed vessel. The exhibit house at the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas seems to be a hotspot for paranormal activity. The over 300 pieces displayed apparently still have a connection to the former passengers who possessed them. And the scary stories from exhibit employees and visitors keep stacking up. Here are 12 of the spooky tales. Number 1. A lady in black appears on the grand staircase. The Titanic Artifact Exhibition at the Luxor Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas apparently has a ghost wandering its grand staircase. Employees and guests alike have seen this mysterious woman who wears a black period dress with a white collar and her hair in a bun. As a photographer prepped for the opening of the exhibition, he spotted the woman casually walking down the grand staircase. He was startled, as he hadn't seen anyone enter, and the staircase was roped off. He assumed she was part of the exhibit and asked her if she'd like him to take a photograph of her. She ignored him. He went back to setting up, but suddenly she was directly behind him again. He offered a photograph again, and this time she didn't just ignore him, she vanished. Number 2. The ghosts take portraits off the walls. The exhibit at the Luxor includes a portrait of Bruce Ismay, one of the Titanic's builders. He apparently fled the sinking ship, leaving women and children behind. Witnesses on the lifeboat claim he kept his back to the ship as it sank, and allegedly he was the one insisting the ship speed up after receiving ice warnings. Perhaps it's not surprising that the ghosts of the Titanic seem to dislike him. One early morning, as the crew came in to open the exhibit, they found the portrait of Ismay on the floor. The manager watched the surveillance video from the night before and was stunned to see the picture begin shaking before coming off the wall, apparently of its own accord. Number 3. Museum staffers are poked and prodded by unseen hands. According to staff and visitors at the Titanic Artifact Exhibition at the Luxor, is extremely haunted. Eerie sounds, uneasy feelings, and actual sightings of ghostly specters have been reported. Artifact expert Joe Zimmer seems to attract quite a bit of attention from these supposed spirits. He says he's had his name called and his hair and clothing tugged on, all followed by the sounds of laughter, and late at night, Zimmer reports hearing a phantom orchestra playing. Number 4. A ghostly tour took place on the SS Winter Haven. What if you saw a ghost without realizing it? In the case of Second Officer Leonard Bishop of the SS Winter Haven, that was exactly what happened. In 1977, he gave a tour of the ship to a man who he had assumed was a passenger. The British man was very soft-spoken and extremely interested in every detail of the vessel, almost unusually so. Bishop found the man to be a bit strange, not unpleasant, just odd. It wasn't until a few years later, after seeing a photo of Titanic's Captain Smith, that Bishop realized why the situation felt so off. Bishop exclaimed to a friend, "I know him. I gave him a tour of my boat." The friend laughed and informed Bishop that the man had been long dead. That man was the captain of the Titanic. Number 5. Spirit orbs hover over the Titanic's resting place. People aboard ships passing the site where RMS Titanic went down have reported mysterious balls of light, believed to be spirit orbs, hovering in the area. On more than one occasion, submarines traveling those depths have received unusual radio interference, odd noises, and SOS calls with no origins crackle through their communication equipment. Number 6. The ghost of the Titanic's lookout watches the promenade deck. Frederick Fleet, a British sailor, served as the lookout aboard the RMS Titanic. He spotted the deadly iceberg and warned the bridge. Tragically, his warning came too late. The ship was going too fast to avoid collision. Fleet survived the sinking of the Titanic, but not his own depression. After his wife's death just after Christmas in 1964, he was evicted by his brother-in-law and hung himself in the garden. His grave went unmarked until the Titanic Historical Society erected a headstone for him in 1993. It appears his spirit is not quite at rest, however. Witnesses have claimed to see him keeping watch over the Las Vegas exhibition promenade deck, perhaps driven by his guilt to keep watch even in death. Number 7. An exhibit visitor is touched from beyond the grave. While visiting family in Missouri, a teenager went traveling to the Titanic exhibit and had a brush with the paranormal. Posting on yourghoststories.com, she recounts the experience. "We were walking through a hallway to get to the artifacts, and I was behind everyone. I suddenly felt a soft tug at the back of my t-shirt. I turned around to see who the culprit was, but the hallway was absolutely empty. I quickly faced forward to catch a potential trickster, but no one was sneaking away, and everyone in front of me was far ahead." Number 8. Ghost hunters capture a voice on tape. The Georgia Aquarium also houses potentially haunted artifacts from the Titanic. The employees have claimed to see shadows, hear voices, and even be touched by the spirits. The paranormal activity is so intense that the Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters came in to investigate. They reportedly capture a recording of a voice saying, "No, please wait," in the iceberg room. The team also says they got several readings of anomalous cold spots and witnessed a shadowy figure. After reviewing their findings, they concluded that the Titanic exhibit at the Georgia Aquarium is in fact haunted. Number 9. Captain Smith still haunts his former home in England. According to Louise and Neil Bonner, owners of the former home of Titanic's Captain Edward John Smith, the shipmaster lingers in his house. The couple have spent the last decade renting the 19th century Victorian, and their tenants have reported feeling icy chills passing through them, hearing strange noises, and even seeing full-bodied apparitions of the captain. The property has also suffered a flood in the kitchen, and unusual cold gusts in the dining room. According to Mr. Bonner, some years ago, we had a single chap living there, and he rang up one day, convinced that he had seen the ghost of the captain. He was in bed when he saw him drift across the room. Number 10. A deathbed premonition was made the night the Titanic sank. A creepy legend surrounding the Titanic comes from the deathbed of a young Scottish girl named Jessie Sayer. On the same night the ship sank, Jessica Sayer was on the verge of dying. In her delirious state, she supposedly spoke of a massive sinking ship and a man named Wally playing a fiddle. She had no way of knowing the Titanic would sink that night, or that Wally Hartley, played his violin one last time as he and his band went down with the ship. Number 11. A comforting spirit haunts the Titanic Belfast Museum. As they like to say in Ireland, the Titanic was built by the Irish, but sunk by the English. The Titanic Belfast Museum commemorates the ship in Belfast, Ireland, and it seems to have a ghostly presence of its own. In 2013, a woman touring the museum listened to the final distress call of the RMS Titanic. She described the events that followed in a letter to the hosts of the podcast Real Ghost Stories Online. She claimed that while hearing the original Morse code and seeing the words of the RMS Titanic's distress call, she became overwhelmingly emotional. Her heart was pounding, and she felt as anxious and heartbroken as if she were the radio controller herself. Shaking and sick to her stomach, she began crying. Walking away to get some air, she felt a hand on her shoulder, and a male voice said softly, "It's okay." She assumed it was her friend and reached up to brush his hand, but realized that no one was there. Was this the spirit of the radio controller Jack Phillips, she wonders? Was he reassuring her that he was at peace with what happened? Number 12. An author predicted the sinking of the Titanic 14 years before it happened. Morgan Robertson published The Wreck of the Titan in 1898. 14 years later, the real-life Titanic disaster happened, and many took that as a sign that the author had psychic abilities. Robertson rejected those claims, saying he was just drawing on his real-life experience as a seaman. However, there are plenty of chilling specific parallels between the book and reality. Besides the similar names, the fictitious Titan, like the Titanic, was supposed to be the largest of its kind and an unsinkable ship. It also lacked enough lifeboats to accommodate its passenger load, and struck an iceberg while going too fast, ultimately sinking in the exact same spot as the Titanic, off the coast of Newfoundland. Both disasters also took place in April and cost over 1,500 people their lives. And that is the end of that. So some of those stories are pretty sad. I don't know. I love the Titanic and it gets me kind of emotional, but it's something that I'm so fascinated by. Like, I think everybody's somewhat fascinated by the story of the Titanic, and I just love learning new things about it. But my question to all of you for question of the day is, do you believe these stories are true? Let me know in the comment section down below. That is the question of the day. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please slap a like on it. Let's see if we can go for 10 billion likes on this video. I would really appreciate that. And remember the most important thing of all, guys, chase your dreams. I love you all. Don't let anybody bring you down, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another video. Peace out.